Meanwhile, corporations coming under scrutiny for violating consumer privacy. Today, Google's latest privacy changes go into effect. This despite European and U.S. consumer groups urging the search giant to delay making the controversial changes. Now, what happens is all of Google's services like Gmail and YouTube, they are now all streamlined into one profile. Google maintains it will give consumers a more personalized web experience, but critics say it allows the company to compile a vast amounts of personal information and store it all in one place. To talk more about what this means for your privacy, Conn Hallinan, columnist for Foreign Policy and Focus, joins us now. So, Conn, what do you make of these changes?
Well, I think the idea that Google is doing this in order to give you a better personal experience is something that you that you ought to be a little careful about accepting. I mean, this is about marketing, and I think in this case particularly, not only are they collecting an enormous amount of information, but I don't really think that you can trust Google here with what they do with this, because they've already been caught essentially figuring out a way to slide cookies, that is, these little things that allow them to track you when you go browsing on the web, to slip these into Safari and to Internet Explorer, which covers the Apple computers and Microsoft computers, which is really basically the whole deal. And they figured out a way to do this. And so when I go on my Safari, because I have a Mac, and I go on the web and I start looking for stories that I'm researching, someone's tracking all of that. Now, Google says it's doing it for your own good, but I don't really think that's a decision I want to leave up to a major corporation. I think that that is my sort of inherent right to decide who knows what I do on the web and where it is I go and what I look for.
But what exactly is the problem with that? I mean, you know, if they compile your shopping habits and somebody sees a pair of shoes or something that they want and they see that it's at a discount price, it's kind of giving them letting them shop for things that they want at an easier, so that they can find things easier. So in a way, it can benefit the consumer. Why should the consumer be concerned, though?
Well, I mean, I think it's, you know, they have an argument, and they say, you know, it's like living in a small town. And it's like you go to, you know, your butcher in a small town, and after a while, the butcher knows what types of meat you like and knows what kind of cuts of meat you like, etc. Okay, but have you ever lived in a small town? Everybody knows you. Everybody knows your business. I don't want that to happen. And this is like, it's like if you leave the small town, the butcher comes after you and follows you home and gives you your right kind of meat, you know, at your doorstep. I mean, these are ways in which we're slowly giving up our privacy. And there's another thing which you need to worry about, and that is, if Google collects all of this stuff together, does it mean that that makes it easier for instance, a government agency to step in and get that information? Now, we saw this in the post 9/11 situation, where the government was able to go in and get emails, to get things that people were sending back and forth in order to monitor them, to see if there's any kind of terrorist activity. Why couldn't they do the same thing with this?
And there does seem to be more concerned, people seem to be more concerned when it comes to the government violating your privacy. But what's to say that Google won't give this information to the government eventually?
Well, they will. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying here is that if they collect this all together and the government produces a subpoena, which they get from a court, because they're they're monitoring terrorist activities, and they can't tell you what terrorist activities because that's national security, so they can't talk about it. And they can go in and get this information. So essentially what you do is that you collect all this information in one place. It makes it a whole lot easier for government to go in and get that information. Now, normally, if someone wants to know what I'm thinking and what I'm doing, what I'm saying on YouTube, or where I'm going on the web, or what I'm saying in my cell phone, etc., you need to go get a warrant. You need to go tell a court, we have reason to believe that such and such is engaged in some kind of activity, and here's the evidence for that. And therefore, they can bug your phone, or they can put a listening device in your car or your home, etc. Well, Google's doing this. There's no warrant.
Now, Conn, in a way, though, this does kind of go along with consumer demand these days, because people, they want things instantly, fast, simple, streamlined. So isn't Google just giving people what they want?
Well, did they ask those people? I mean, how about asking us? I don't need things instantly. Maybe I'm an old guy, but I don't need things instantly. And if you try to go on and disable the little things that Google can track you with, try it. You have to be a computer artist in order to do it. And even if you do it, it doesn't mean that they still can't track you. So my feeling about this is, look, if some corporation wants to come up and ring my doorbell and say, look, we'd like to advertise some things to you, can we come and ring your doorbell several times a day? If I want that, I say, yeah, sure. Otherwise, I put a little sign up that says, no soliciting. I don't want them ringing my doorbell. That's my decision. Why is it Google's decision? And by the way, Twitter is now selling old tweets to businesses.
And that is a conversation we are going to have to save for another time. A lot of controversial changes going into effect today. Conn, thank you for coming on the show. That was Conn Hallinan, columnist for Foreign Policy in Focus.